Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and it's our Manchester United versus Watford preview. It feels a very quick turnaround, and it is. We're playing Saturday afternoon, literally 48 hours from now. We'll be just over. We will be kicking off against Watford. Interesting as well, I don't know whether anyone's realised this, we're probably only going to play 3 games in March. 31 days in March, it's a big month. We're probably only going to play 3 times. And including Watford on Saturday, we've probably only got 4 games between now and April the 2nd, which is amazing, isn't it? And one of those is the Champions League game against Atletico Madrid. I don't know how that's happened, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's a predicted lineup on the right, by the way. That's not the team I'd go with. That's a predicted lineup. We'll talk about that. Also, a few things to talk about. I think we'll get into depth about Rashford. There is a live poll at the moment whether ELANGA or Rashford should start. We'll talk about that. Also, the Champions League final has been moved from Russia, obviously for the ongoing horrible events that are, I'm sure, on everybody's minds at the moment. And obviously, thoughts and prayers with anybody caught up in direct conflict in Ukraine at the moment. Hopefully the world can avert any more suffering. We have to wait and see. But the UEFA Champions League final has been moved away from there. So, could it end up at Old Trafford? We'll have to wait and see. They're going to announce that very, very soon. But apparently McTominay will be out of the game, says Devraj. I haven't heard that confirmed. I heard he was ill. And knowing Scott, not personally because he's blocked me, but knowing McTominay as a player, if he's ill, I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing at the weekend. But I don't know whether that's confirmed or not. But yes, so we'll go through that predicted lineup in a minute. There's lots of things I want to talk about. I want to get into your questions a little bit. I do want to open up the Rashford conversation in an intelligent way and not just he's a load of crap, sell him, because I don't think that's an intelligent solution at all, and I think we're better than that. But I do want to talk about Watford very first of all, because this is a game that we need to win, and we need to win it without any doubt. There's no room for manoeuvrement. But there's some really interesting things about Watford that surprised me. I had to check it 3 times. Watford are bottom of the league in home form. But away from home, they're more or less mid-table. And also, at home, they've conceded 30 goals. Away from home, they've conceded 16, which is the 7th best away conceded record in the league, Watford. What's going on with Watford? How come they're so good away from home? In fact, in their last 3 away games, they've won 1, lost 1 and drawn 1, but they've only conceded 1. Which was their 1-0 loss to West Ham. They won 1-0 away to Villa, which is no mean feat, and they drew 0-0 with somebody else. I think it was Burnley. So Watford away from home are actually very, very good, which means we're probably going to beat them 4-0 because it doesn't make any sense to do that. But yeah, I think put a bit of respect on Watford. They probably are going to get relegated, but their away record this season, weirdly, is very good. And their home record is bloody shocking. They lost 4-1 to Crystal Palace last night at home. Although they had the similar amount of shots and similar amount of possession. So they're just probably not very clinical enough. Seriously, what's going on with Manchester United relying on last-minute draws, says Mahmood. Well, it wasn't a last-minute draw. It was 10 minutes to go. So yes, Watford are a very decent side away from home, and we're going to have to put them to the sword on Saturday afternoon. I think that the way we approach this game is going to be very interesting. Watford, their front 3 will probably be Dennis from the left, King and Sarr. So they've got pace. They're going to be mobile. Their midfield, Sissoko, Cleverley, Workman, right. I mean, look, Watford are not a good enough team to beat Manchester United normally. But they smashed us out the park back in, was it October, November? And, we're going to have to play well. I know we've got ELANGA's number wrong. God, is that really what bothers you so much? Please go and watch a different video. If it bothers you that much, we've got ELANGA. We have Deloa's English. We're a fan channel. We're not bloody BT or Sky. Sky had Vidic playing last weekend. Bloody put your complaints into Sky. We've got a number wrong. Chill out. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to have a huge impact on the conversation of the show. He's still in the starting lineup and Rashford's not. Chill out. There's bigger things to worry about. I mean, God, just look at the news, mate. Look at the news. There's people sat in the chat going, they've got the number wrong. They've got the number wrong. It's not 56, it's 36. I know Elanga's in the team, but they've got the number wrong. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, get BBC News off. Not bothered about that. They've got the number wrong. They've got the number wrong. Just chill. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Right, anyway, on with the show. Goldbridge and his therapy. Chill out. It's not going to have a huge impact on the show. I wish Delo was in the started lineup because we've got him as English. Anyway, on with the show. Chill out. Chill out. Watford, Manchester United at the weekend. I think they'll come very workmanlike. I think we're going to have to play very well. This is the predicted line I've gone with. Obviously, De Gea in goal. But I think he will make changes. I think Rangnick was I read some of the comments under the video this morning, and some people said, "Oh, I think you misinterpreted what Rangnick said. I think he wasn't throwing the players under the bus. He was saying they've got to get better." Well, you can throw players under the bus and still be constructive, and I think that's what he was doing. He was basically saying that a young player in ELANGA comes on the pitch with the right attitude, and people who are first teamers on massive amounts of money and have got massive amounts of experience don't have the enthusiasm and drive that he has. So it was a kick up the arse. It was definitely throwing them under the bus, and they need to respond that. I would be very, 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 very concerned if Rangnick picked pretty much the same team against Watford that played on Wednesday night, because he can't trust them. He can't trust them, and he has to show that he can't trust them. So for me, he's going to make changes. So De Gea would come in goal. I think you make a great point, Pat. Pat. It's an EastEnders thing. Anyway, yeah. It's going to be one of them shows. We'll get your questions in a minute. It's going to be one of them shows. So I think with Delo, I agree with Pat that what's Delo done wrong? I don't know. This is a predicted lineup for Watford. I feel that Wan-Bissaka's got his place back, and I don't agree with it. I like Wan-Bissaka and I like Shaw, but I think they get their place back on very slim, thin circumstances, because Shaw just seemed to get the left-back spot when Telles hadn't really done anything wrong. And now Wan-Bissaka seems to have got the right-back spot, and Delo did nothing wrong. But I definitely think it's heading that way. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, I thought, played well last week against Leeds, and I thought he did reasonably well when he came on last night. But I don't think... Ricky, says Flex. Ricky. Stop. So I don't think Delo's done anything wrong, but I think Wan-Bissaka's going to get his spot back. And I think we've just basically moved back to this back four that Ollie had. And I think we might see that back four against Watford, actually, because the only way we won't see it is if he puts Telles in. But let me talk about the centre-backs. People are going to say, why is Varane not there? I'm absolutely convinced that Lindelof has to start this game. He's our best defender at the moment. He is the most informed defender we've got. I thought he was brilliant against Leeds, and he was brilliant against Atletico. So I think Lindelof will start. He's never going to drop Maguire. So where's Varane, Mark, you might ask? I'm not convinced with Varane. I think he's the best centre-back we've got, but I think there's something going on. I think he's got an underlying issue. It's completely made up in my head, and I'll admit that. I've had no information on it. But I just think he's going to play Lindelof and Maguire at the weekend. Why that would be, I don't know. Milverton says his 5-year-old daughter's going, chill out. Oh, love it. So I think it will be Lindelof and Maguire, because I think there's an issue with Varane, which is interesting as well. Let me just remind you, this game on Saturday is massively important because we need to win. We definitely need to win. I'm doing Arsenal versus Wolves watch along later. Come on, Wolves, or a draw. But... we don't play for 8 days. We've got 8 days off. We play Man City a week on Sunday. We're not in the cup, obviously, so there's no midweek game for us. So I'm not even sure next week is the cup week, but we're not playing midweek next week anyway. Is the point? And so it's not like he needs to rest players. He can play. He can put the best team out he can put out. So I just think Varane maybe won't play tonight. Play on Saturday, and I think Varane might not. If he doesn't play on Saturday, I'd question why not. Left back, Telles for me. Shaw's out of form. He was very bad against Leeds. He wasn't much better last night. I really like Luke Shaw. I'm not listening to Luke Shaw's crap, and he's always been crap. A year ago, he was one of the best left backs in the world. Something's not right with Luke Shaw. I don't know what it is. Something's not right with Marcus Rashford. I don't know what it is. Something's not right with Harry Maguire. I don't know what it is. Whatever you think about Shaw, Maguire and Rashford, I would argue with you, even if you sat there going, Rashford's shit, Maguire's shit, Shaw's shit. I might go, this season, you've been a bit blunt. I don't like your language in a public place, but they'd go, you're a hypocrite, Mark. You swear all the time and it's on YouTube. And I'd go, good point. Let's get back to the main point. The point is, they're not playing very well, but they're better than what they are. And I think Luke Shaw is a lot better than what he is at the moment. And I think Maguire is, and I think Rashford is. But I think Telles deserves the slot. So Telles has to start. I think that, you know, it won't get the headlines it deserves. It'll all be about Elanga and Rashford, which I think is very. I don't think. For me, I mean, look, we did a poll. I did a poll just before we went live. Who starts in this game, Rashford or Elanga? 90% say Elanga, and we've had 5,000 votes. I mean, it's not. It's been put in the bloody title, Rashford out, Elanga in, but it's a statement. It's not a debate point. I think left back's a debate point. I think right back's a debate point. For me, Telles has to start. He deserves to start. Into the midfield. Somebody said in the chat that McTominay is missing the game. Now, I have not heard anything about McTominay missing the weekend game. In fact, against Atletico, Ranić expected him to start. And obviously he wasn't feeling well enough. So I think McTominay will be back for that game. I think he will be back. Yeah. I think I've not heard any. I can't. I'm just looking through my messages, and I don't think he's not going to be back for that game. I can't see it. This is predicted, but what do you think of Lindelof Varane as a CDM for an experiment? I don't think it would work, Diab. I don't think it would work. I'm more than happy for you to have the chat about it, and you know, fill your boots, mate. But I don't think it will. Rashford ignores every single overlapping run Shaw makes, which makes Shaw's game harder, says Davin. You know what, Davin? I was watching that just very quickly before we move through the rest of the team. That shot that Rashford had last night. Oh, you know when you watch it live and you sort of think, it must be. You think back to it, and sometimes you imagine it in a different way. Somebody tweeted it just before, about half an hour before I went live, and I kept watching it, and I watched it 5 times, and basically he's bloody miles out. He's miles out. And the worst thing is, Luke Shaw is in acres of space on the left-hand side, and there's no Atletico Madrid player near him. If he passes it to Shaw, Shaw's got at least 2 touches. The Atletico Madrid player has to come away from him, who is very close to Ronaldo, which gives more Ronaldo space. Now, granted, Luke Shaw's got to put the right cross in, but if Rashford passes it, sprints into the area that Ronaldo is, that creates more space for Ronaldo because the defenders have got to go to Rashford and Shaw. And he shoots from 35 yards. I would, Ranić does these clips that he sends back to the players to do his homework. That's the only clip I'd be sending to Rashford with a voiceover saying, "Why? Your homework for tonight, Marcus, is what should you have done?" You'd probably get a reply, get your head over the ball so it doesn't go over the bar. No, pass it to Shaw. So yeah, I think McTominay will be back from illness, and I mean, some people would say play Matic. I'm bored of this, to be honest. On a personal note, I'm bored of this. I've seen a few people today saying Matic has got to start the next game. Pick Matic in the next game, and I'm like, when are people going to learn about Matic? The reason he doesn't play anymore is because he can't. He can't play more than an hour. Last night was perfect. Matic, 20 minutes, run around a lot, and he could do it, but he can't play for more than an hour anymore. So there's no point in picking Matic from the start because you're going to have to sub him off. So McTominay, Bruno and Pogba, look, at the end of the day, McTominay can't take any blame for Atletico Madrid. He didn't play. Bruno and Pogba have to take huge blame for it. They were awful, and the best way for them to bounce back is in a game like this. And look, up until Atletico Madrid, Pogba looked massively consistent and was looking really good. So hopefully he can get that form back. And then the front three for me, look, it's got to be Ronaldo. I don't care if Cavani's fit. He's got no right to start this game. He doesn't deserve to start this game. You know, whatever you say about Ronaldo, he's not getting any service. Let's start Ronaldo. Sancho back on the left, yes please, and Elanga off the right. And I think we will win. I'm not going to predict a scoreline because you never know with United, but I think we will win. But as I said, I'm massively intrigued by the fact that Watford have this weirdly good away record. I was doing the research just before we went live thinking, well, they're in the bottom 3. I bet they've conceded loads of goals away from home, and I bet they're crap. They're crap at home. They've got they're bottom of the league in their home record, but they're mid-table in their away record, and they'd be 7th in the league for goals conceded. I don't know what it is. Watford away from home are actually very good, which is brilliant because we got smacked up by them at their home ground. So I wouldn't write Watford off. Obviously, a lot of their form is not going to be on Hodgson, who's just come in, but they will be well organised with Hodgson, and I think that if we manage to win this game by 3 or 4 goals, I'll be very impressed, because I can see this game being. I'd say this is probably likely to be a 2-0 to United home win, I would say. We saw United's midfield at its dysfunctional worst yesterday. Pogba Bruno midfield always feels top heavy to me, says Geordie. And if Rashford passes the chance of... I'm not going to read that out, Ian. It's a bit too political. The lack of vision from the board affecting the players' motivation to perform well, says Kyle. I don't know. I mean, the clubs... It's like that statement somebody said, you know, a fish rots from the head down, and that's basically what's going on at United. But look, Atletico Madrid, we play in 3 weeks. We talk about that in 3 weeks, really. We've got to get back on track in the Premier League, and I'm a little bit worried that we're not really playing much in March, and other teams might play a lot. And I don't know how many games Arsenal have got in March and Spurs have got in March, but if they play a couple more games than us and they pick up some more points than us, then we could get pulled into something we don't want to do. The Etihad a week on Sunday, it's a Manchester derby, and anything can happen in a Manchester derby. I'll say that now, and I'll say that next week. But the reality is, Man City should beat us, and therefore it's so important. I think we've got Norwich at home, Watford at home, Brentford at home between now and the end of the season, and that's got to be 9 points. It's got to be 9 points, hasn't it? And it's got to start off with 3 against Watford. I'm sure the club will celebrate it like we've won the league if we win on Saturday, and we'll have a whole Sunday of players putting up pictures about and all this, and yeah, we're back and all this. But the reality is, I don't care. We just need to win. There's been no development from Rashford, says Matty Ross. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but let's just wind it up on Watford before we move on to other things. So yeah, I think Rangnick has got to make the changes. I think it's really important that he makes changes, because it's sad to keep having to do this, but this is what happens when you've got a lack of trust in your players. These players, for whatever reason, however good you think they are, let's take it away from talent for a moment, because I don't think some of them are good enough. I think that's been well documented. But whether they're good enough or they're not good enough, they're not consistent. And if they're not consistent, you've got to try and find ways to make them consistent, you know. And to do that, he's going to have to take some of these players out of the team again. Rashford's going to have to come out of the team again. Elanga's going to have to start. I think Shaw's going to have to come out of the team. Tellez is going to have to start. And, you know, potentially he might do it with a couple of others. But he's going to have to make changes. And I think that a home game against the struggling Watford side with 2 or 3 changes and a little bit more enthusiasm could really help us. And then the positive about that is, if Elanga's not doing well after 65 minutes, or he's having an average game, you've got Marcus Rashford for 25 minutes, who's actually scored off the bench in a couple of games recently. So I think he's just got to make the changes in this game, and we've got to go out there and make sure that we get 3 points. And I don't really care how we get them. I don't care if it's 1-0, 5-0, whatever, whether we deserve it or not. We are at that point now where we need to get 3 points. And it's interesting, just before we take some of your questions and talk about Rashford, it's interesting that people are talking about 4th place now in the way that it probably should be spoken about. I said it last night before the game. The excitement in this season is the Champions League. That's exciting because it's a top tier tournament. We're still in it. I don't think we can win it, but it's exciting to be in it. And that's the exciting... Oh, God, I'm getting bored myself. That's the exciting thing in football for me, is competing for trophies. And the only trophy we're competing for this season is the Champions League. Whether I think we can win it or not, that's the only trophy. That's the only excitement. The 4th place battle is not exciting. You almost need to wake yourself up. You think it's exciting, but it's not. Your body's tricking you. Your mind's tricking you. This is not an exciting thing to be in, a race for 4th. It's not excitement, it's fear. It's fear masked as excitement. When we get 4th place, the club and the players will be there with their pictures going, we achieved what we wanted to and all this bullshit. We haven't achieved what we wanted to. 4th place is not an achievement. It's a drop-off. We finished 2nd last year. We're now fighting for 4th. The reason 4th is important is because it gets us in the Champions League, which is where we want to be. But it's not an achievement. It's a relief. And the excitement for me is the Champions League. For the Glazers, they're excited. 4th place, cha-ching, it's all coming in, it's all about the money. But this top 4 race for me, I don't find it exciting. It's about how the bloody hell have we got ourselves into it, and we better not mess it up. And messing it up is not beating teams like Watford. We've got to beat them. I would really love to think we'll go to the Etihad and get a result, and we have done it in the past, but we've got to start picking up results, because I won't be there at the end of the season going, yeah, what a great achievement 4th place is. I mean, that's the minimum we should have got. We keep Pogba and Ronaldo. We sign Haaland, Rice and Badiashile in the summer with Ten Hag as manager and Ralph as director of football. Do you think we win the league, says Hamish? Pogba, Ronaldo, Haaland, right? No. Haaland and Ronaldo wouldn't work for a start. No, I don't think that would be enough to win the league, Hamish. I don't think United are anywhere near winning the league. I couldn't even answer you. How do you turn that into winning the league? De Gea's fine. I'd like a really top. I'd play Varane, and I'd probably want a faster centre back playing with him as well. I'd need Luke Shaw back to his best. I'm not convinced Wan-Bissaka or Dalot are the answer at right back, to be honest. If you want to win the league, that midfield, Pogba, Bruno, and even Rice, I'm not sure that works. Sancho, Ronaldo, I think it just doesn't look like it's anywhere near evolving into a title-winning side, which is scary, really. I think we probably need five top-class players to come into the first team that we haven't got. Hi Mark, hypothetical question for fun. If you could have Rudiger / Kante, Rodri / Diaz, or Van Dijk / Fabinho, I think you mean, which pair would you go for? And it's a good question, Armchair. Would I take Rudiger and Kante, Rodri and Diaz, or Van Dijk and Firmino? Well, it feels to me that that's a bit unfair to. I'm gonna do it for you as well, because we can do that. Rodri, Diaz, Kante, Rudiger. So this is going to go in the live chat. And Van Dijk, Fabinho, Van Dijk. I already know which I would go for, and I think everyone knows what I'm going to go for. Mark, we need to accept Ronaldo is finished. He was terrible yesterday and we must get rid. He's the main problem. Ahmad, I'm not answering your question. Thank you very much for the super chat, because I know exactly what you are. You live under a bloody bridge. You're a troll. I would go with Fabinho and Van Dijk, just very, very quickly, because I'm a massive fan of Fabinho, and I think Van Dijk's the best centre-back in the Prem, so I would go with those two. And I think they would improve us massively, but to be honest, any of them would. Right, so let's talk about Rashford. I feel that this is a hot topic at the moment, and obviously I don't think there's any complaints that ELANGA is in our predicted lineup and not Marcus. I've listened to a lot of people, ex-pros, experts, supposedly, etc. And lots of people giving off lots of different advice. It's funny because we were speaking about this about a month ago, maybe even longer. We were talking about Rashford a month ago. So his bad form, I can't even remember when it started. I think it's been pretty much all season, hasn't it? I know he scored a good goal against Leicester when he came off the bench, but I can't think of any complete game he's had this season. One good game where he was nearly man of the match. I might be wrong there, but it's been going on for so long that it's really surprising. I even said in the Atletico Madrid preview that I thought maybe this is the game where he will do something. Ian says he'd go for Diaz and Rodri because they're younger. So the worrying thing with Rashford, it's been going on for so long. I do think that clip. There was a clip last night actually. I don't know whether you saw it as well. Just to go back to the prat about Ronaldo. I wish I could play you this clip actually. I don't know. I think if you go on at Mark Goldbridge on Twitter, I replied to the tweet, so you can see the clip I'm talking about. Basically, there is a period of play last night where I think Bruno puts a cross into Ronaldo in the box. It's nowhere near him. The ball goes out to the left. Luke Shaw gets it, puts a cross in. It hits the bloody NASA space rocket closer than bloody Ronaldo's forehead. Goes right over to the side of the pitch. Then Rashford gets it under no pressure, puts a cross in, and it's about 5 metres away from Ronaldo. In the space of 20 seconds, 3 crosses come into the box where Ronaldo is, and not one of them can he attack. This is Champions League football from Manchester United. 3 crossing opportunities and not one of them can Ronaldo even attempt to get his head on. One of the best headers of the ball in the game, and we can't even put a cross in the box. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's as bad as that clip of Rashford shooting from miles out. And it absolutely, to me, hits home on what I've been on about for a long time. And I mentioned this morning. Our inability to create chances in the box for whatever striker, even last year, Cavani, Martial, this year the same with Ronaldo, is shocking. It's so bad. Johnny says it's bad positioning. Mate, he'd have to be... I mean, on Luke Shaw's cross, he would have had to be about 20 foot tall. On Rashford's cross, he'd have had to have a neck like longer than a giraffe. It wasn't bad positioning. They were impossible to get to. Rashford, you'd have to be offside to get into it. Luke Shaw's, you'd have to be bloody huge to get onto it. It's nothing to do with bad positioning. It's just ridiculously crap. And anyway, it's not even about Ronaldo. Ronaldo wasn't here last year. I'm talking about our inability to create chances for a striker in the box. Crossing is abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. And it's you know, it goes to corners as well. It took us 140 corners to score a goal. Why do you think that is? Because we can't cross. We don't have the ability to cross. It's amazing. Amazing. A couple of years ago, I was playing Sunday morning pub football. And when there was a corner, it was landing around the penalty spot. And yet, professional footballers can't beat the first man most of the time. Our creativity is abysmal. It really, really is. And anyway, look, obviously Rashford's a part of that, but I don't really blame Rashford for that. I think he needs to work on his crossing, but I think that lots of people will have lots of different reasons as to why they think Rashford's fell off. Some people will say, well, he was never good in the first place. I disagree. I thought he looked amazing a couple of years ago. I just think that some people will say it's because of his off-field activities. And it's very harsh because of the things that he's done off the pitch. For me, it comes down to 2 things. And again, it's only an opinion. Either one, he believes his own hype. And this is a problem, not just Rashford. This is a problem with a lot of footballers. I think it's happened with, I'm not going to name them, but it's happened with certain other United players over the last 5 years. There's a couple that come to mind who did okay and then believed their own hype that they were better than they were and sort of became a bit of a celebrity United footballer who wasn't actually that good and couldn't get in the first team. And the trouble with the modern day footballer is they've got so many people in their ears, they've got so many admins and agents, and, you know, a brand can sign you up very, very quickly, even when, you know, because you've had a few good games and they think you're going to be the next big thing, so they want to get attached themselves to you. Rashford could believe he's better than he is, and that might have caused him an issue. But realistically, I judge him on the pitch, and I just think he's been figured out. I actually think it's that simple. I think he's been figured out, and I've not heard anybody say this. I think he's been figured out. I think that I've heard people say, you know, he needs to start running around, and, you know, I think was it Michael Owen or someone last night said that the fullback needs to go off the pitch exhausted. What are you going to do? Tell him jokes and make him laugh? Like, I don't think it's that. I just think he's been figured out. I'd like to say he needs to simplify his game, and I've said that before. For me, when I look at Rashford's game, I see a player that runs at players too often into blind alleys, shoots from distance too far, and doesn't take care with his passing enough. He gives the ball away a lot when he does pass. His shooting, you know, he's not scoring goals, is he? And, you know, he might go past one player, but you're not going to go past 4. If he improved those 3 things and, you know, pass and move a little bit more like Sancho does, I think simplify your game, you'll get more chances in better positions. But yeah, he does need to simplify his game, but I could look at anybody's game and say he needs to simplify his game. Maybe he can't simplify his game. Maybe his brain doesn't work like that. Different footballers work in different ways. I just think he's been figured out. I think players know he looks to get a shot off at all angles. I think players know that he looks to run at you and they double team him. I just think he's been figured out because he's trying the things that he was trying 2 years ago and they're not coming off. And that can happen with a player. So he needs to adjust his game. We're going back to simplifying his game. He needs to adjust his game because once you've been figured out, you're not going to score 15 goals a season. You're not going to get 4 or 5 man of the matches a season. He's been figured out and he needs to adjust his game. He can definitely get it back. I'm a big fan of Rashford's. You know, anyone who's watching the channel for a long period of time, Martial and Rashford were my favourite 2 players pre-Bruno coming in. So there is a player there, but I just think people overcomplicate it. People start talking about, effort again. I can't be arsed with the effort thing. If you can't be arsed, if a player needs to put more effort in, they shouldn't be at United in the first place. I don't think it's about effort. I don't think it's about running around more. I think it's about, you've been figured out, mate, and you've got to adjust your game. Mix your game up a little bit. It doesn't mean you can't shoot from angles again. It doesn't mean you can't run past 2 or 3 players again, but they know what's coming. What they don't expect you to do is pick the ball up, knock the ball out to Luke Shaw and not shoot from 35 yards. What they don't expect you to do when there's a couple of players in front of you is pass it and make the run in behind them. They think you're going to run at you. So he needs to mix his game up, but only he can do that. Because I guarantee you Rangnick's telling him that. I guarantee you that his coach is telling him that. I guarantee he knows he's got to do that. But when you're playing in front of tens of thousands of people in a football match and you're used to playing in a certain way, can you get your mind to tell your feet to do something different? And that's what Rashford needs to do. Do you think Rashford is told by coaches to be direct and shoot from distances, Milesy? Well, he might. He might be told that. I don't know. I'd be very surprised, but he might. But if he is being told that, it's bad advice. I would say that Ollie might have told him to do that because Ollie would never drop him and it would just be Rashi, go out there and produce a moment. And he used to. You know, he did used to. But I think in a Rangnick team, it would frustrate him. I don't think Rangnick would just tell him, get your head down and shoot. Get your head down and run at people. You know, don't take care in your passes. You know, I think he needs to evolve his game. Yeah. Strime says he can be better. He's going to come back. He's still an amazing player. So how long will it take for people to actually move on from him? I mean, look, there's no... I think under the previous manager, there was just keep... You know, we saw it with McFred. We saw it with Maguire. We saw it with Shaw. We saw it with Wan-Bissaka. We saw it with Bruno at times. Ollie would just stick with the same player no matter what. No matter what, he would stick with them. And even Lindelof as well. You know, I gave Lindelof a lot of stick last year. Ollie would just stick with them. That's not the way to do it. You know, you do need to drop them. And I think Rangnick has done that with certain players. And then if that doesn't work, you know, I don't think we would get to this situation. But you have to open your eyes to the fact that if a player's been bad for so long, do you not try and sell them? Now, unfortunately, Manchester United are in a situation, I would say, with certainly Rashford, where they would never want to sell him. Why? Well, because he came through the youth setup for one. He's massively marketable for two. I think United would try and get Rashford in that first team for as long as they can, for many more years than now, because he's massively valuable to them. So we just need to get him back to playing to his best, and the only person who can really change that is the player himself. But I still believe there's a good player there. It just frustrates me that some of these players can't take criticism, and it's football. It's football, lads. You know, it's not. We're not going for a pint. We're not going to play Laser Quest. We're not going go-karting. It's football. And criticism in relation to some of these lads' performances at the moment is 100% justified. And it baffles me how some of these players can't take it. They just can't take it. They want to believe something else. And the reality is you're not playing well. Sort it out. And then you will get the plaudits again. Because one thing I did see after the Leeds game, doesn't matter how bad Maguire's been playing lately. Did anyone not celebrate his goal? No. Nobody went, oh, you jammy git, it's hit you on the head and gone in. Swivel on it. He scored a goal for Manchester United to make us 1-0 in front. Like, I don't understand why the modern player gets so moody about criticism when you're in control of changing that. If you play well in a United shirt, you're going to get the praise. I don't know of a United player that doesn't get praised when they play well. Okay, you get your weird little cults around some players, of course, but the vast majority of fans will criticise a player for not playing well, and if they play well, they'll get praise. Rashford doesn't read the game and offer no support to the fullback. Also, he has no clue how to press. Every time he does, it makes a bad foul, says SPD. Well, this goes back to what it's about. It's about the ability to improve your game. And for me, if you ask me what I think's wrong with Rashford at the moment, I think people are overcomplicating it. I just think opposition teams have figured him out, and he's got to adjust his game. And if he doesn't, I think he'll continue to struggle. And you know what? If I was Marcus Rashford, I'd like that bit of advice, because it's not someone saying you're shit and you were lucky. It's not somebody saying that, you know, you're injured. It's not somebody saying that you need to go and play for Preston. It's not, you know, it's not somebody saying it's a bad patch. You've clearly been figured out. You've got to adjust your game. You've got to bring new things to your game so that the defender doesn't know what you're going to do. Because at the moment, they know you're going to shoot or run at them or play a bad pass. And you need to mix that up. Hi Mark, do you think United can still attract elite footballers on the promise of winning silverware, or is it purely mercenaries that will come for the dollar, says Armchair Pilots? You know what, I think that's a great question, and I think that the best example I can give you is Antonio Conte, because although he's not a player, he's a manager. Players are egotistical and managers are egotistical. You've got to believe in yourself to get where they've got. To be a Premier League footballer or a Premier League manager, you've got to have beaten a lot of people to get there. No one gets parachuted in. Nobody gets, oh, you can just be one. You've got to work hard to get there. So you've got to have an ego. You've got to believe in yourself. Now, Conte probably never should have took the Spurs job. The warning signs were there. That Spurs job is ridiculously difficult no matter how good a manager you are. What did Conte do? I'm going to take it. I feel I'm the man, I can do it. I'm going to take it. And then he's failed. Or he's failing. His ego got ahead of himself. I'm Antonio Conte, I can turn it around. Players are the same. Oh, look at what happened with Donny when he went to Man United. Oh, look at what's happened with Wan-Bissaka, and look, you know, Harry Maguire, and look at the stick he gets. Yeah, but I'm me. I can make the difference. I believe in myself. So I don't think we'll ever have a problem with a manager or players. You know, maybe they should open their eyes. I mean, I said it the other week. If I was Declan Rice, I wouldn't come anywhere near United. I really wouldn't. I think it's more likely not to work out for you than work out. But I guarantee you, if it's the right offer, he'll be like, yeah, I'm going, because, and that's good for us because we'll still attract players. But I don't think footballers see the warning signs, and I don't think managers see the warning signs. I think they see the chance to, you know, I can be the one that makes the difference, and you can understand why, because what they've achieved in their careers to get where they are. So Fabinho and Van Dijk came out on top with 49%, Kante, Rudiger with 32%, and Rodri, Diaz with 18%. I'm surprised they got so low actually, but there you go. Bruno was trash last night, says Overload. Oh, mate, I agree. Bruno's one of my favourite players, but I'm not blind to the fact that Bruno. I don't think Bruno's playing particularly well at the moment. I think Leeds. You know, for me, Leeds was great. I loved Leeds. But we've said it before. Leeds, it's ignore it once it's gone. It's Leeds. Leeds play in a way that no other team does. So you don't learn a lot from Leeds. A team that plays wide open, man to man. It's a completely different game. And, you know, I look at Bruno against Brighton. I look at Bruno against Atletico, and I don't think they were very good performances. I said it after Brighton. I don't think he played well, and I got people telling me he did. Don't think he played well. Not sure that Pogba, Bruno, and McTominay or Fred works, to be honest. I'd rather put Bruno on the right and play McFred and Pogba, or put Pogba on the left and play Bruno and McFred. I think Pogba and Bruno can work really well together, but I don't think they work particularly well together in the midfield three. I think one of them needs to be off the width with a little bit more freedom. And you could do that. You could put Sancho on the left and play Bruno on the right, because he's done that before. Or you could put Bruno in the middle, put Pogba on the left and put Sancho on the right. I'd do that. Klopp said something interesting, that he is allowing Diaz to play with minimal info. In summer he will be tuned. Would Rashford be more improved at Liverpool, says Amit. Well, this is another great point. How many one-touch passes went forwards? Far too slow all round, says Andrew Zakov. We've mentioned this before as well, and I think it does need re-mentioning. When you look at Liverpool and you look at Klopp, and when you look at Liverpool and Pep, and there are other clubs as well, we don't have to be so elitist. There will be other clubs. Look at Brighton with Potter. They bring players in. They may well be good signings, but they bring players in, and over 70% of them go from one level to another level with developments. We've seen it with Jota, we've seen it with Robertson, we've seen it with Van Dijk, we've seen it with Mane, we've seen it at Man City, we've seen it at Brighton as well. These managers, they buy a player at a certain level, say top class, and they make them world class. They buy them at good, they make them top class. It's called development, and it goes on. It should go on at all football clubs. It doesn't happen at Manchester United. I don't know of a player in the last 3 years that has developed from where they were 3 years ago at this football club. Bruno Fernandes is the same player he was at Sporting Lisbon. There's no development in his overall game. Rashford was the player I was thinking about. Rashford is the same player he was 3 years ago. He has not developed his game. Case in point, he's too easy to read. People have figured him out. There's no development in his game. Greenwood. We can still talk about Greenwood as the footballer he was a few months ago. His game has not developed over the last 2 or 3 years. He's the same player he was as a youth player. And the list goes on and on and on. I don't think McTominay's developed. I don't think Fred's developed. I don't think Maguire's developed from the player he was at Leicester. But you can't be the same centre-back you were at Leicester and be a successful centre-back at Manchester United, because there's a huge difference. Leicester have won a league, they've won an FA Cup, and we haven't in the last few years. But there's a big difference between centre-back at Leicester and centre-back for Man United. The expectations, the pressure, it's very different. We don't develop players. We just do not develop players. And this is something that maybe a Rangnick or a Ten Hag or maybe even a Pochettino will do. But it has damaged us, and it is damaging us now, that these players that should have developed. You know, some of these players were early 20s and they're now mid-20s. Some of them were mid-20s and they're now hitting 27, 28. And their careers have just gone. They've not become crap, some of them have, but they should be developed. The whole point of signing these players, it's almost like United bought players thinking, well, that's it. They'll come in and make the difference. Look at what Klopp does. He buys a player and then he makes them become part of his picture. We just don't do that bit. We just don't develop players. And you know what? I've not plucked that theory out the sky. Tell me a player that's developed in the last 3 years. And if you can tell me 2, I'll be very impressed. If you tell me 1, you might find 1. We've got a squad of over 25. Like, we should be developing every player. It's like playing FIFA 2 and not FIFA 22 and not putting development plans on. Among all centre-backs in the Premier League, what ranking would you give Lindelof based on his performance this past month? Have you looked up Jesper Karlsson yet, says Killen. No, I haven't. Mark, would you worry if Rashford went to Arsenal or Chelsea, for example, or would you rather sell him and get someone else, says Ash. I'm not at that point with Rashford, Ash, for me. I still think there's a story to be written at Manchester United. Rashford is stuck in Sterling at Liverpool mode. He needs to add more bows to his quiver, else his only pro will be the ball over the top, says Sid T. He needs developing. The trouble is, does he think he needs developing? Because it has to come from the player as well. A manager can tell them they need to do this, that and the other, but the player might think, I don't need to do this, that and the other. I'm just going through a bad patch. So, you know, the player's got to want to do it as well. I think he can turn it around, but it's going to take some work, as it always does at that level. Where would I rank Lindelof in the centre-backs in the Premier League? Lindelof's an interesting for me because I'll give Robert McCormack a shout-out. He messaged me the other day and said, you know, you gave Lindelof a lot of stick last year, and I did. But I gave Matic a load of stick 2 years ago, and then he came back. I will call out what I see. If I see a player's underperforming, then I'll call it out. But I'll never write a player off. unless it's blatantly obvious they're never going to be good enough. Like Fellaini for me was never going to be good enough, even though he did have some good games. I didn't rate Lindelof much last year, but that just shows you how poor we've been at centre-back this year. And I think Lindelof with Maguire terrifies me because they're slow. Lindelof with Varane is different, and I think that's the centre-back pairing I would like to see. We won't see it, but I would like to see that. So where would I rank Lindelof in the centre-backs in the Premier League? He'd be somewhere around 10. He might be top 10, he might not be top 10, but he'd be somewhere around 10. What do you think of this forward? Pogba, Ronaldo, Sancho, midfield, Bruno, McTominay, Lindelof, defence, Telles, Maguire, Varane, Delot. Says Jack. Jack, I've got no problem with it, but I don't agree with Lindelof as a CDM. I think his body movement, I just don't see him as a CDM. I know it's been going on for years. I don't even know if I'm being bantered, but I just don't see this Lindelof CDM thing. So if you do, fair play. I just don't think he's got the awareness or body movement or balance to be a CDM. When I think of CDMs, I'm thinking of that Jorginho, that Roy Keane, that Michael Carrick, that Rodri, that Fabinho. They just look like they've got balance and awareness of both and everything that's going around them. I don't see that with Lindelof. I don't see it. I don't see it with Jones. I don't see it with Wan-Bissaka. I don't see it with Telles. I don't see it with Shaw. We need to buy a specialist CDM. Anyway, I'm not on Twitch today. I'm on Twitch tonight. There's no TOSFC is not on a Thursday. I keep telling people this because I do Red Dead Redemption at 10:30 tonight. So there's no TUSFC today. Thanks everybody for watching. Smash a like on the video. We've got an evening show for you. Reza says, Mark, Delot, De Gea, ELANGA all improved with Ronaldo joining Boost. You can see the relationship on and off the pitch. Thought, says Reza. Yeah, but it's not development. It's confidence, that is. Development's got to come from the coaching staff. And we just don't develop players, really, unfortunately. TUFC's back tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.